first scientist who dedicated most of her life to the studies of science.
She wanted to see a change in the world she was living in, and so she decided to become that change.
Even though Marie was a woman, she was determined to excel in her studies and change the world of science.
She was born on November 7, 1897, in Warsaw, Poland, to the Sklodowski household. Her mother and father, Vladislav and Bronislava, had 5 children: Marie, Sophia, Joseph, Bronislava, and Helen.
Growing up in a family where both parents were teachers meant a well-educated household. At the age of 4, Marie Curie learned to read. When her older sister, Bronislava, was struggling to read a book, Marie was able to read the opening sentence aloud perfectly.
Taking her family's stunned silence as disapproval, young Marie burst into tears, declaring, "Beg pardon, pardon, I didn't do it on purpose. It's not my fault, it's not Bonnie's fault. It's only because it was so easy."
Her family comforted her, but did not approve of this early development in her knowledge. They wanted Marie to grow up with a normal childhood.
When Marie Curie was 9, her mother died of tuberculosis.
She had been diagnosed with this disease years earlier and had tried to distance herself from the family so as not to get them sick. There was a constant worry over her well-being, and eventually the family saved enough money to send her to a clinic in southern France. Sophia went with her.
Seeing this wasn't helping, they came home. Soon, Sophia came down with typhus. Unfortunately, she never recovered and was laid to rest. 2 years later, Marie's mother died at age 42. Marie turned to her studies as a comfort.
Wanting to gain a better education, Marie and her sister, Bronislava, set off for the Sorbonne, their mother's alma mater and one of the best schools for women to get an education. There was only one problem in the plan. The Sklodowski household was financially unstable.
After spending so much on medication for Marie's mother and sister, housing problems for the big family, and her siblings' education, the sisters would have to work and save their own money if they wanted to go to the Sorbonne.
They worked in the Polish countryside as governesses, weavers, and teachers to uneducated women. Any well-paying job they took, but 6 years later, Marie was able to go to Paris in the Sorbonne.
The Sorbonne was better than expected. Marie took on a beautiful and mysterious air. While not having many friends, she was quite timid.
Out of all her studies, science was the best. Every novel, fairy tale, and daydream paled in comparison. This, Marie decided, was what she would spend her life on.
Marie had no place for love in her life. She was made busy by her passion for science, and nothing else seemed to matter. But by Joseph Kowalski, Marie was to meet the love of her life.
He had invited her over for tea and to meet a French physicist, Pierre. Almost at once, Pierre was enchanted. After leaving, he could not help but want to see her again.
Through a series of letters and meetings, Pierre and Marie grew closer and were eventually married on July 26, 1895.
They lost no time in the start of science and began working in a small self-built laboratory. Soon they had discovered a new element, polonium, but they were not yet done with their discoveries.
When walking into their laboratory one morning, the Curies discovered a green glowing substance and began isolating it at once. They had discovered radium, the miracle drug.
From medicine, cancer killing, clock dials, cosmetics, and more, radium was viewed as a cure-all for any sickness and highly sought after for any furniture and beauty products because of its green glow. Today, we now know that too much exposure to radium can be dangerous.
They won a Nobel Prize in Physics for their discovery of radium and polonium in 1903. The Curies developed widespread fame and put an end to any financial problems with the money they earned from the Nobel Prize. Marie Curie didn't let this attention go to her head. As Albert Einstein once said, Marie Curie is, of all celebrated beings, the only one whom fame has not corrupted.
But a tragedy occurred in the midst of the celebration.
Pierre was dead.
It had started out like any other day. Marie getting their children Irene and Eve ready for school, and Pierre quickly rushed out of the door.
Without thanking, he walked into the path of a carriage and instantly died as the wheel crushed his head.
Marie didn't hear until 6 o'clock that night. Being in too much shock, she sat and waited for his body to arrive, to be dressed and prepared for the funeral. Laying her head on the coffin, Marie stated, "I loved you and that I had always loved you with all my heart. Something came to me, something like a calm and an intuition that I would yet find the courage to live."
Marie eventually found her way back to life. She had children to take care of and the daily responsibilities of a scientist to attend to.
She was offered a job as the first female teacher at the Sorbonne and gave regular lectures.
She continued research in radioactivity and was awarded another Nobel Prize, this time in chemistry, for her work with radioactivity.
No, this was not the end of Marie Curie. In fact, this was only the beginning.
Marie Curie continued her work in science and started the Little Curies in World War I. She saved multiple lives with her radium and X-rays she stored in the ambulance.
Even though most of her radium was gone due to the war, Marie was determined to continue her work, and with the help of journalist Missy Mattingly was able to obtain 1 full gram of radium.
Marie Curie eventually died of overexposure to radium in 1934 at the age of 66.
Her life was full of hard barriers to break, including the loss of her mother, older sister, and loving husband.
Her family was poor, and her sister Helen never got a proper education. These she often felt responsible for.
Poland did not have their independence at this time and was ruled by the Iron Fist of Russia.
It was hard for women to get a good education.
Despite all these barriers, Marie was able to break them and influence the world of science by discovering and working with 2 new elements. Thank you, Madame Curie, for your contributions to our world.